Welcome to the Diversity in Events Awards webinar. In this webinar, we will be sharing with you what the awards are about, how you can apply, and what you need to know. These are the only industry awards which focus solely on recognizing, celebrating, promoting equality, diversity, and inclusion across all sectors and industries who deliver events. So if you are a brand, an organization, a small business, and maybe even an entrepreneur, you can apply for these awards. So what is the mission and purpose of these awards? Essentially, we know it is possible to drive diversity through events. The events industry is worth billions, and every single sector, every single industry, every single vertical runs events, large, small, medium, whether they're meetings, conferences, trade shows, social events, festivals, the list goes on. So our mission here at Diversity Ally is to drive diversity in all its facets and nuances through events. And this awards program essentially helps us to produce some case studies so that as an industry, we can look at those who are doing very well, who are making progress, and who can be examples for those of us who want to do our part and contribute to making sure that we become more diverse and inclusive as an industry. In addition to that, it's always helpful to celebrate and recognize those who are genuinely investing in the diversity within their own teams, within their own organization, and who are seeking to have a good and meaningful social impact through their events. So that's the mission and purpose of the Diversity in Events Awards.
So who are Diversity Ally? Well, my name is Gabby, and you have just seen my co-founder Ashanti, and we launched Diversity Ally around 18 months ago, and it was really in response to the lack of diversity inclusion first and foremost that we were seeing in the events industry, but then also looking at more broadly and widely, just seeing there are some issues with inclusivity and accessibility as well with regards to events, marketing and content. So we have formed an education, training, consultation and events organisation to help support these businesses who want to do more in this area. And we're very excited to be using our events such as the Diversity in Events Awards to drive this mission and purpose of driving diversity through events, as well as other exciting events coming up soon, which you'll learn a little bit more about. If you'd like to hear more about what Diversity Ally do as an organisation, you can hop over to our website, diversityally.co.uk.
So why should you apply? Well, first of all, one of the things that we in our day-to-day work with clients hear very often and are asked is for examples and case studies. What are the best practice examples of diversity and inclusion in the industry? Who is working on their company culture? What training is being provided to leaders and employees? How are other companies seeking to diversify their supply chain, for example? And so it's really actually a good idea for you to apply so that you can contribute to us being able to create some case studies, some examples, and also keep updating those pillars that we've created so that you can continue on in terms of diversity and inclusion. So that's the first reason you should apply. Contribute to us being able to create some case studies and examples in the industry. The second reason why you should apply is because it allows us to celebrate you. It allows your team to see what you've been doing as an organization and be a part of that celebration. So, we can all recognize the hard work you've been putting in, particularly over the last 18 months, to prioritize diversity and inclusion, especially in the current climate we're in. Gabby?
Should we move on to the categories?
Absolutely.
I was just agreeing with you because you put it so wonderfully. You thought I was going to add something. I love it.
Look, it's just a brilliant opportunity for us to come together as an industry for one evening, in a celebratory environment, recognize the work that we've all been doing. Okay, we do a lot of education, we do a lot of training. There are lots of serious elements to what we do in terms of driving diversity through events. And yet, this will be an opportunity for us to come together as an industry, celebrate and pat each other on the back for genuine, authentic work which is happening in our industry.
That's true. And not just that, but also the awards are really going to be about us demonstrating what best practice looks like. How are we making sure that these awards are accessible? How are we modeling that to other industries? Yes. So you'll also be able to see how that is done. And that's an incredibly important part of our mission as well when delivering this event. So
yeah. Do you know what, Gabby? Thanks so much for mentioning that, because you know, it is hard work and it's tough to think about all of those elements, your marketing, your supply chain, who you are working with, partnering with, you know, your company culture, the makeup of the team that's delivering the event. So for us, it's also a challenge, but it's one that we want to be custodians essentially and set the good example of how you can create an event, an experience that really is diverse and inclusive in all of those strands. So we're along with you on the journey as well, because every single year we also will be challenged to live some of these values, to actually show you how those pillars work in practice by obviously putting on an event that is about diversity, but is really staying true to some of those values.
That's very true. And also what we'd like to say is we aren't expecting perfection at this stage, in the same way that there might be things that we might miss or that we could have expanded on or improved on. We want you to see that it's okay to not know everything immediately. It's okay to sometimes make mistakes or need to ask for advice. So we also hope that we demonstrate that kind of grace to you as well. And you show it back to us that we're also doing the best that we can, but nobody's perfect as of yet. So we're not expecting perfection from you either, just your best at this stage.
Is good enough. And that's why we need you to apply, right? Without people applying to the awards and attending the awards, we need you to work with us, to join us on the journey, to be able to drive more diversity and show you how easy, challenging, some practical ways of thinking about accessibility when you're choosing a venue, right? Thinking about accessibility in terms of the mediums we might use in our marketing, thinking about how do we show the nuance, the variety within humankind when we are talking about who we're recognizing, who has achieved things. It really is quite open right now. And so that's why we're trying to bring you along on the journey and say, hey, participate, join us in this learning process.
Yes, and that's why the categories this year are quite broad. So we want to make them accessible for people. We know that this can be quite new for a lot of people. So this is why a lot of the categories are accessible, as I mentioned. And we have 11 categories in total. 10 of those will be judged by our expert judges in diversity, equity and inclusion, also in events and also in the creative industry. So a real nice mix there. And we do have one award which Ashanti and I are going to specifically judge, which you'll learn a bit more about that closer to the time of the awards. But you can see all the categories on our awards website. So you head to diversityally.co.uk and the tab, the awards, you'll see it there. But some of the categories include most accessible venue, best D&I initiative, most diverse and inclusive event, whether that's live or virtual, diversity champions. We really want to keep this open and open it up to as many organisations, sectors, individuals as possible. And as I said, you can find all of the categories on the awards website. There's no set rule required really for entry content. Like, we understand this is quite new, and the nature of each entry hopefully should be quite unique, as a lot of us are still testing and trying things out. There's no set formula for this yet. So that being said, including some of the following examples will really help us to judge or enable the judges to reach a fair kind of evaluation of your submission. And so including things like your brief, what the initiative is, the ultimate goals, what the objectives are, what research you undertook, the preparations that you made, any challenges, obstacles, what were the outcomes. All those things will be included, but as mentioned, we can share a document with you on these guidelines, and they are all on the website too. And we have popped a slide up here. So when you are entering your submissions, these are the things that you will need to do. So you need to choose which category, but hopefully you'll apply for more than one, which would be fabulous, and that you'd like to apply for. Tell us who was working on this project or initiative, have an executive summary to keep it really concise about what you are applying for and what your project, event or initiative was. And then obviously you write in a bit more detail about the event, including all the challenges and then all the fantastic outcomes and that you've achieved, and obviously uploading any supporting documents, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And so right, Gabby, because you make a really good point. This is about demonstrating progress, initiative, contribution, participation in that overall mission of driving diversity through events. So it's not perfection, it's not the finished article. And you'll note that Gabby mentioned, you know, in the criteria guidance, we talk about what were the obstacles, what are the challenges. So it's not just about you submitting a kind of perfect, linear, you know, experience where you got it right the first time, you knew exactly what you were doing, everybody was happy, everyone understood why you were doing it. No, we actually want to see what the challenges were, right? Where were the messy parts and how did you navigate that? What have you learned? What might you do differently next time? That's what we want to see. That's what the judging panel wants to see, because that is the reality of driving diversity and inclusion in our businesses and of course in society more generally. So really do be authentic, be open, be honest in those submissions. So we have given a timeline, okay, up until, so if you are in the midst of planning an event, okay, and you want to submit on that event, that initiative, or maybe you've got a kind of diversity champion, you know, remember those categories are quite flexible. So each category does have the guidance underneath it around dates. So that's a really good point, Gabby.
Yeah. So the dates are, so the submissions relate to ideally January 2020 to December 2021. But for example, you might have only started an initiative in August 2021, and that might still be ongoing. So please still feel free that you can apply with that to that category with that submission.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So how to apply? Well, we have made it pretty simple. There are two ways you can access the awards website. You can, of course, go on to diversityally.co.uk, and there is a link that will take you straight through to the awards website where the categories will be listed. You can actually select and save categories. So you might want to go off and discuss as a team, gather the data, the information you need, and then submit. And of course, you can just go on to diversity in events awards.co.uk, and it will take you straight to the award website. Now, if you have any questions at all about the application process, feel free to drop us an email, awards@diversityally.co.uk. All of the details will be probably in the show notes in the description section underneath this video, so that you can access the details for applying, essentially.
Brilliant. So who can apply? So we encourage applications from any company, organization, brand, or individual who have proactively been incorporating, championing, demonstrating diverse and inclusive elements within their events. So whether that's an NHS conference, whether that is an exhibition specifically for ethnic minorities to market their products or services, or whether that's an internal education event. So the awards really are open to any organisation, whether it's public sector or private sector, and that includes media, tech, publishers, brands, agencies, venues, suppliers, or individuals that help and do deliver events in all of its forms, whether that's in-person, virtual, whether that's brand activations or experiential marketing campaigns. But what we really will be looking at is factors such as accessibility, diversifying supply chains, diverse marketing collateral and content, diverse team makeup and champions of DEI initiatives. So these things will really be considered as guidance in your application.
Absolutely. And, you know, because all of these elements drive diversity. So it isn't just one thing, right? Think really carefully about how you as an organization, as a team, or if you are a solo entrepreneur, have sought to include diversity, sought to make your event, whether it's virtual, hybrid, or live, more inclusive for attendees, for speakers, for any other partners and suppliers that you have worked with to put the event on.
Yes, and also, Ashanti, if there is a joint submission of some sort to say two organisations joined forces to deliver something, again, feel free to apply and submit together. That's also allowed.
Absolutely. Really good point there, Gabby.
No problem at all. So applications are open. They close in December. And shortlist will be announced in February 2022. I think that's right, isn't it, Shanti? Yes. Shortlist announcements will be made then. So you do have time, but also it's really important that you start gathering as much of that information and evidence as you can, so make the application process as easy, quick and simple as possible. And the website is really accessible. But of course, if there are any other ways that you need support, please do contact awards@diversityally.co.uk, and we can look at other variations for your submission, also extra support that you might need with regards to that. So please do contact us if you do need it in a different format, etc.
Brilliant. Thank you.
I wonder if we, I think we covered most things, didn't we? Is there anything we want to add, Shanti?
No, I think that's about it. You know, it's just a really momentous, I think, occasion for the industry. We are obviously incredibly pleased that we, you know, are even able to put together an initiative of this kind because of the far-reaching benefits of having an awards program. I think we've always saying, you know, it's not really just about that evening. It's great to get together and celebrate and whatnot, but actually there's a wider piece around being able to drive the whole industry forward before, during, and after these events.
And that's kind of our mission, isn't it? I guess, you know, we are about driving diversity through events, but it's all about the touch points we deliver and invite people to join us on throughout the year. Yes. And these awards are part of that. They're part of that impact that we're trying to make and that change that we're trying to drive. This is one of those elements towards that. It's not just a standalone piece where, as Ashanti said, we all come together to celebrate. Yes, it's fantastic, but it is that educational best practice and the case studies as well that Ashanti mentions, that we're all supporting each other as an industry, as society, as people who care about this and want to make a difference for future generations.
Absolutely. So, you know, look, unlike other awards where, you know, you're just kind of coming along to the table, it's kind of predictable, you know, this really is very meaningful. We're super, super proud of the fact that we are always looking at opportunities to provide work experience for young talent, new talent, regardless of age, and diverse talent in the industry. So this occasion will be another opportunity for you to contribute to that, because we will be able to give work experience, for example, to that talent, so they can come along and experience and see the breadth and depth of the events industry. Events like this will make the industry more attractive and appealing to new talent as well, right? What other occasions are there where you can really understand the different facets and the diversity that exists within the industry? So there's some really, really great opportunities here. So thank you for joining us on this webinar. If you do have any questions and you are starting the application process, then you know where to find us.